Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. It is a huge blessing to me to know that you choose to spend some time every week here hanging out with me, listening to the podcast, and gleaning from these really fun conversations. I'm excited to introduce a little series that we have that was completely unintentional. I just realized after the third interview on a similar topic that, there is a theme here. And that theme is our homes. I choose a word for the year, and I had a bit of conflict for this year because it felt like the year had a slow burn into feeling like the new, expansive, fabulous goodness that typically is associated with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day for me. And I had a word in mind, and now, you know what, I can't even remember what it was, but I changed it about the third week of January to the word home, and really anchoring in as I started the bed and breakfast with having farm stays and with really focusing on the things that I'm doing on the property at the Phineas Wright House, as well as my home away from home in France. And I've really been focusing on what home means for me as I redefine it. This year, especially as things have changed. And I'm just being more intentional for what goes on here. So I also mentioned the farm stays and want to just extend that invitation again to you. If you are in need of a personal retreat, if you are looking for some time to get away with your sisters or with your girlfriends, and you just want some uninterrupted girl time, or if you want to have a romantic getaway with your partner, I would love for you to consider a farm stay at the Phineas Wright House. So DM me for any information, shoot me an email, hello@phineaswrighthouse.com, or visit the website, phineaswrighthouse.com, and get more information on how we can get your fabulous getaway on the calendar. Okay, so back to our series. This series on home is going to start with a lovely conversation with my friend Cathy King, the sustainable organizer. Cathy King is a sustainable expert and has worked for 30 plus years as a corporate executive, managing teams and environments around the world, and holds an MBS in sustainability from Northeastern. She has been married for 30 years. She is the mother of 2 grown boys. She talks about sustainability in addition to her professional organizing career. She is using her work to spread her sustainability messaging one household at a time. In her years of global corporate teamwork, she has learned effective communication and has understood many aspects of the backstory of sustainability, from a manufacturing, plastics, and automotive aspect. Cathy believes that we can all make an environmental difference, even if it's small change at a time for only 5 minutes a day. It can be as simple as shortening your shower time by 5 minutes. She believes that every turn in life has prepared her for the next challenge and adventure. Cathy started her business, The Sustainable Organizer, in April of 2020 at the start of the pandemic as a vote for her. She now faces yet another challenge, which she is taking face on with a diagnosis of MS. All of the steps that she has taken to make herself and her environment sustainable allows her to face these challenges with strength and a strong team of family and friends. Cathy is now taking her work experience and her passion for the environment and combining them to purposefully deliver environmental goodness to customers through professional organizing, coaching, and speaking. Whew! That is a lot. And she is a lot of goodness and wisdom and great advice for ways that we can organize our homes and our lives and our days in a way that are good for us, good for our families, and good for the environment. So sit back and relax. Enjoy the latest episode with my friend, Cathy King. Cathy King, I am so excited to see your beautiful face, to have this gorgeous conversation, and just to hear all the wonderful things that are going on with you since the last time I saw you.
Wendy, you know what? You are the hero that I watch. I'm like your Instagram, Facebook stalker. I'm like the person that lives passively through the Wendy's dahlias and the gardens and the trips and all of those wonderful things that you do. And I'm like, oh my God, now she's done that. And my niece just got married in a barn up in New Hampshire. And so I think about your barn and I'm like, oh, this must be what Wendy's going to do with her barn. And it was very rustic, but I think about your barn and that lovely, lovely time that we had doing flower arranging. And I just think, wow, your vision and in all of the life experiences that you've had to now have enabled you to live this wonderful vision and dream that you have. And I just am like, I feel very fortunate to have people like you that have those big visions and those big dreams, because it allows me to feel like, okay, you know what? Even when your life gets redirected every 30 seconds, it seems, that you can still dream and you can still have visions, and that you surround yourself with the right people and you get enabled.
Oh my word. What a giant love fest. I had no idea that was coming, and that was beautiful. And I'm going to play that every morning when I get up. Thank you. I receive all of that. And I'm going to have you change your title from stalker to super fan, because that sounds more enjoyable for both of us. Wow. Okay. So many beautiful things. I really treasure them all. Thank you. And I want to talk about something specifically in there, which came up when I invited you to be on the podcast. And then you asked me a question of what do you need to do to prepare, to which I answered, you've been preparing for this conversation for 60 years. And we just started talking before I hit record about how all of our life experiences are not happening to us. They're happening for us, so that when the next pivot, roadblock, change of direction presents itself, we actually do know what to do. We actually have been groomed for this next thing. How are you experiencing that as well?
I think that when things happen, sometimes you don't realize, like, oh, when I was climbing the corporate ladder and always doing things, and then somewhere along the way, my boss said, oh, you need to, for resume hygiene purposes, you need to get a master's degree and you can pick whatever it's in, and I'm like, oh, you need to get a master's degree and I'm almost approaching 50. I can't sit for 3-hour timed exams and all of that. You don't do that when you're in your 50s. And it's just pressure cooker. So I looked and looked and looked and I said, well, I think I'm going to do sustainability because that's something I don't know much about. And I think I should know more about it. And I picked 3 colleges, Northeastern being the most expensive. And I thought, oh, they'll never pick that, And sure enough, they picked Northeastern because it was online and it enabled me to still do my corporate travel, I was overseas once a month for a week at a time. So I was in Italy, and I was in Amsterdam and China, and all over the place. So I was traveling full-time, working full-time, and going to school, part-time.
Wow.
But I earned my master's degree in sustainability from Northeastern, and it was hard because I also had 2 kids. I had my oldest and my youngest, my 2 only children, 7 years apart. So it was I went to track meets with my laptop and I'd have my husband texting me, Nick is about to go run. So I'd come out of the car, go watch the event, come back to the car, finish writing my paper, go back to the field. And so, but you figure out how you can do it all and do the things that you want to do. At the time that I was doing this MBA in sustainability, it was really about doing an MBA to get it done for a resume hygiene. I had no idea at that point what it would be used for. It was just a corporate thing. And so now, as I went through more jobs and worked in different companies, it became clear to me that we as a world and we as a population need to be better stewards of the world that we live in, and that we need to make our footprint better, for our kids and our grandkids. And we don't know what to do, and for instance is that I just in April, I spoke at the National Organizing Conference, and I talked about recycling, and I talked about, as it relates to, I am the chair of the ECO special interest groups for the national organizers. And what we focus on is basically all sustainability issues related to organizing. And what I defined for them was that we think because we recycle that we're doing good. And really, recycling should be the smallest part of what we do from a sustainability, because we really should be saying no first, repurposing, reusing, and before we get to recycle. And it was a standing ovation presentation. So it was like, okay, so if we could just do that a bite size at a time, if we could just make small changes, we could do it. And so, but I feel like my whole life up till now has prepared me to be the steward of those kinds of improvements. I found out most recently that I will be a grandmother in October. My son, who lives in Florida with his wife Hannah, is going to have a baby somewhere around October 19th. It will be a baby girl, a princess. Yay. And so I will be able to take my pink passion and pass it forward. And so my daughter-in-law is not a pink person. So I am so fortunate that I'm going to have a granddaughter that I will be able to take my pink passion and wand it to, because pink is next to green. Pink is my passion color, but green is my real core color. So I feel like for all of that reason, and for the reason that our kids are the next stewards of the planet, And when you look at everything that's going on, the fact that we daily are getting updates about the fires in Canada that are impacting our air quality here, it's like, we need to do something about these things. And I think people get confused that they have to do an all or nothing, that they need to flip themselves and go to a zero waste philosophy to be impactful, when in reality, just make a small change. Pick one project that you could do. Like, get rid of toothpaste and do toothpaste tablets, because we can't recycle toothpaste tubes. 1.5 billion toothpaste tubes go to the waste every year.
Mm.
And
Wow.
and if we just change that one thing, imagine if we just change that one thing, the impact it would be, because of what it takes to make them. And then the fact that it will take more than 500 years for them to finally recycle.
Wow.
So that's just a small change.
It's not being recycled.
Right. Well, and for people that, I saw a term this week when I was reading that said that there's a thing of recycling and then there's wish cycling. And wish cycling is when you throw your mayonnaise jar in the recycling bin dirty because you think you're recycling. And that's wish cycling, because it is not recyclable if you throw it in dirty, because you've now corrupted everything in the recycle bin and the recycle center by throwing dirty recycling into recycling.
Okay. So many things. All right. So first, I would love for you to speak to that, because I know that if you don't rinse out the thing that you are recycling, that they're going to throw it in the trash, and apparently other things are contaminated by that as well. So I'd love to hear more about that. Also, I would love your take on using the resource of 1 gallon of steaming hot potable water to rinse out the mayonnaise jar. Like, what is the return there? Like, how do we instead, like, how does this actually make a difference, and what can we do to make a difference?
Right. And I think it's really how you eat and what you eat, and making that change. It's
before it even hits the recycling bin is the change that
right. It's at the grocery store. Make the change at the grocery store. Is there a glass option instead of a plastic option for what you're going to use? Like mustard. It's very rare that you're going to get mustard in a glass jar.
Oh, no, that's not true.
Well,
all of my mustard comes in a glass jar.
You can get certain mustards in a glass jar, but
mustard you want to eat.
Right. So, but it's the family style mustard and ketchup and things like that. It's like, it's making those, some of those can be made at home. Some of those, like how much of the stuff that you're throwing in your recycle bin could be made at home, or could be bought in a glass container, or could be recycled, not in your bin that is the curbside take everything bin. Like I have in my office tetracycle boxes, and those are for the things that shouldn't go in my recycle bin, but they can be deposited in my office, because they're like when you buy yogurt and you have that little foil top,
Yes.
and you have the little plastic that can't go in your recycle bin. But if you quick rinse them, even in cold water, I can throw them in my tetracycle box.
What is tetracycle?
Tetracycle is like it's a third-party recycling company where you can order a box. You pay for the box. Okay. So you pay, say, $100 for the box, right? But it comes to your house and the box kind of folds out. It's got a plastic liner. And so all of the yogurt cups that get used in my house, because believe me, although I'm vegan and vegetarian, my boys are not, nor is my husband. So we still have a lot of things that go through our house that can't be put in the recycle bin, but we can rinse them and put them in the Tetracycle box. And Tetracycle is a third-party option for recycling non-curbside recycling items.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yogurt containers can't go in the recycling?
The ones that are the quart size with the cover can, right? But the ones that have the ones that are the little cup ones can't.
Oh,
those can't.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And it varies from town to town too. You really have to know what your town does and doesn't do, and it's really you have to almost do a little bit of homework of, while they'll tell you they'll put it into your recycle bin, what you'll find is it really winds up in the trash.
Sure. Right. Which is just disturbing.
Which is kind of like,
it's the wish cycling for sure.
Yeah. So
also in that book, did you ever read that book, Things White People Like?
Yeah.
And recycling is in there. And like, if you want to play a joke on a quote unquote white person, this book is like, sorry if anyone finds that offensive, it's written by this Chinese American guy, and it is hilarious because it's making fun of me. So I think that's funny. And it was so true, because it said, if you want to play a joke on a white person, tell them you don't recycle, and then like they're swallowing their own disdain, and then put the can in the trash and then say, just kidding, I do recycle. And they will dig through the trash can to recover the item to put it in the recycle. And it's totally true. I would do that. So as morally responsible as I believe I am being, what you're saying is that might not actually be happening because I haven't fully educated myself in what to do. And now that you've said tetracycles, that's what you said.
Yep.
So I know sometimes if I don't use the chicken stock that I've made, the organic chicken stock is in that box that sometimes soups are in and such, and it reads tetracycle, like you can't put it in your normal.
Well, and there is certain, like, one of the things with TerraCycle is that and I'll send you the link for TerraCycle in my paper, is that even if you don't want to do a TerraCycle box at your house, TerraCycle has resources. Like, they'll tell you, oh, do you use L'Oreal products? They have a process. Oh, do you use this product? Do you use this product? All of these companies, unbeknownst to most of the society, have take back like free take back places, so that you can collect all of your toothbrushes from Oral-B and send them back. You can collect all of your shampoo bottles from, this or things like that, so that those things that can't go in your recycle bin, there are ways of handling it. It's all in what you can do. And if you only pick one thing, just pick one small thing. Right. Like for me, I went into organizing because I knew I could make change and help people make change one house at a time. It's like, I'm not here to rainbow organize your closet. And if you did, I'm the wrong organizer for you.
Oh, well, I will rainbow organize your closet, because that's how I have my closet. And that's
right. But
I always call it rainbow, but that means it's by color.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Right. And so for me, it's like, I always tell people, if you want to be rainbow organized, I'm not the person. Oh, and if you want the clear plastic, I'm not the person either. But if you wanted, if you wanted to maximize how you operate? How do you get out of your house 5 minutes faster? How do you find your keys repeatedly? How do you not buy pens, the same pen, all the time? That kind of thing. How do you make your processes at home more sustainable for you? I'm the person.
Right. And that's what I've always loved about your business model, is that you're not about necessarily becoming a minimalist. You're not about buying a bunch of organizational systems to implement. You personally have how many Christmas trees?
7.
Right. So you're not going to make somebody give up a collection that is precious to them. I feel like my understanding of what you do is you help people articulate intention around the things that they already have, and the things that they cannot articulate intention around, you help them divest.
Right. And let somebody else love them, because it's like, just because you don't wear that sweater and it doesn't bring, value to you, there's probably somebody waiting to get it. There's that person that's going to love that sweater because they've been looking for it. And now that you've given it up, they found the perfect sweater, or they found the perfect snowman that you were giving up. It's that thing. It's like, just let it go into the universe so that somebody else can love it. I went from having a complete empty nest in April of this year to my youngest son, Tyler, graduated from college in May with his bachelor's degree in engineering from UMass.
Congratulations, Tyler.
Thank you. And my son from Florida coming up with his dog and his wife to stay with us for the summer. And so his dog, that's why I always have the door cracked, because his dog will come in and out on frequently. And so the dog is here for the summer, but he's in and out with his wife, who they have a camp up at Winnipesaukee. Her parents do. So I have a full house. So every room has been repurposed in my house to be an office for my son to work, a bedroom for my other son, a bedroom for my son and his wife. So my whole house has been flipped and reworked in order to make room from an empty nest to a very full house, with a 2.5-year-old high energy puppy who is just the love of life. And Cinnamon, she's not in here. Cinnamon is now almost 21.
Is that your cat?
No, she's a dog.
She's a dog that's 21 years old?
Yes, she's a miniature poodle. She's 21. We've thought she's been EOL like several times in the last 2 years, but since Piper arrived, she's found new life to be the princess, and she's still trotting around. Now, get this, Wendy, I've had to diaper her now because, in order to maintain my hardwood floors, and to give her some dignity, so we're not always aggravated with stepping in puddles. But she has no problem. She just trots around and is always trying to get food and figure out like what's the best opportunity for her. And she can't see, she doesn't hear anything, and she still trots around just like, where is everybody? Oh my
gosh, I just got a vision. I think that's going to be me.
That's me.
I'm committed to being at 100, and I'm committed to being of super sound mind, but I think I'm going to need to adjust that vision board a bit to be sans diaper and that I can still see and hear.
Well, I figure that diapering my dog gets me back in the practice for diapering my grandbaby.
I thought you were going to say husband. So
no. No, my husband would be. No, we got a place to send you to. So, so it's been like everything is, I'm thankful that we've been able to reconfigure my house multiple times without investment and without stress, you know, because of all the change that's going on in my family. And just, like I left corporate life and I, like you say, am saying yes to my new life of I get to spend time with my son's dog, my grand fur baby, and just get to enjoy it and not worry about my 9 to 5 and being on calls at night and calls on the weekend and on the clock. I feel like everything I've done to now has enabled me to sustain this new life that I live. And I'm thankful that I've had my corporate money that's enabled me to say, you know what? I don't have to work right now if I don't want to work.
Right.
I've created a life that says, take time to breathe, take time to do the things you enjoy. And if doing sustainability isn't the money wagon, it fills up my heart. That if I can make my sustainable Sunday posts and people hear, oh, what would Cathy say? Or, what would Cathy do in this? And people hear my voice, then I'm making a change, because the change is not for me. It's for my grandchild that's coming. It's for the grandchildren that are coming. It's for your daughter. It's for the young ones that are coming, because it's kind of us that did this to the world and our moms and dads, right?
I'm glad that you mentioned leaving corporate, because that was my other question. I want to know a bit about your process and your mindset, because I know there's a lot of listeners that are in a corporate job that is really just sucking the life out of them. And the paycheck is, it provides security. It provides a sense of security, I'll say, that you just don't quite believe is possible following your dreams. And I disagree with that. But until it becomes your own mindset and your own belief, then, it won't be true for you, because what we focus on grows and all of those things. So how does a person who, like, your career was in finance, you were very much
I've
like
been the VP of finance, the CFO. I've done multiple stock options. I've had the big money. I've had bonus plans. I've done it all.
Here's my question. How does a person who lives within the confines of an Excel spreadsheet shift from that masculine energy into the feminine energy required to follow your dream? How do you do that?
The way I did it is because I still went back to what was true to me. I'm still me. I still tell it the way it is. I never conformed to the, like I'm still the, I don't wear makeup. It's like I never got into the mold of I could only operate one way. And so I look at all the great people that I've worked with. Well, all of those great people that I worked with are the reason that I worked. It was never the work that I did necessarily, but I also feel like, those are the people that I will frequently get from my LinkedIn or from my Facebook. It's the people that I worked with that will come back and it'll be like, hey, I was looking at your Facebook, or I was looking on your website and I was doing this. And it's somebody from my past. It's a president that I worked with, or it's a GM that I worked with, or, so for me, it was always there. It's just, it took getting into a really bad company and a bad situation before I said, oh, wait a minute, it's time to vote for me. I no longer am voting for you and your money. I am voting for me, because my life is too short to have been put on hold. And I also felt like okay, my son's gone to college, my other son's graduated from college. I feel like now is the time. If I don't vote for me right now, I'm never going to vote for me. So I vote for me right now. And what's ironic is that it was at March of 2020, at the start of the pandemic. And I came home and I said to my husband, I can't do this anymore. I think my job is going to kill me. I can't do this anymore. And he's like, you've always made great decisions. You've always held us in your hands all this time. Do what you need to do. And so with that started the Sustainable Organizer. And I worked with a woman, oh, God bless her, she's not even here anymore, that helped me develop my logo and helped me develop my plan of, and she's like, Cathy, you don't need to invest in anything else. It's all there. You're all packaged for all of the experiences that you've had. You're all there. Just go do it. And so when you get enough votes like that, and you have enough people in your camp like you know, like everybody else that I have in my camp, you realize that was part of my corporate experience, is that I always surrounded myself and stayed in touch with the people that mattered. And I listened to the stories that mattered for me. You know, it's like you don't dispense with the problems and the things that really matter to people. And so for me, it's like, it's those stories. It's talking to the casual person in the grocery store. Like, you know, I'll be one of those people that can cut a story with just about anybody wherever I am. And, you know, so it's one of those that it's like, what are they saying? I thought I heard. So, you know, so for me, it's.
Well, you were working at the grocery store, right?
During the pandemic,
right.
I decided that
now.
Yes, during the pandemic, when I was starting my business and we were all in shutdown, I decided that I needed to get out of the house and I needed to figure out, like, what is the world dealing with? Because I was shut out. So I thought, oh, I'll go get a part-time job at the grocery store. And of course, that became like the laughing stock of with my sisters. They were like, how does the CFO of a company go become a cashier at Stop and Shop? And I said, there's no better way to figure out what's going on with the people than to have them go through the grocery store, because everybody wants to tell you what their problems are.
Well, you're the only place they were allowed to go.
Right. And so it was just like one of those things where you just learn to see people for what they were. You know, you got the best and the worst of everything. You got the people that were in complete hysteria to the people that were just angry at the whole world that this wasn't really happening and that this was all just, you know, whatever. But it was a way for me to stay in touch with the population, to know, like, what's I facing when I'm going into people's homes and organizing them, and what were they experiencing? And you got to understand the whole toilet paper and paper towel and sanitizer and wipes, because it still exists today. There are still people that are recovering and still doing that stockpiling that exists. So, you know, it was a way to experience another side of life. And I myself feel like there is no job too big or too small that I wouldn't experience. You know, there are some jobs that I would totally stink at. Like, I would totally stink at being a waitress because I don't care about food enough to be good at that. You know, it's like, for me, it's like, I'm a vegan vegetarian. And so, you know, so for me, it's like, I don't know whether something looks the way it should look or not look, you know. So for me, the food and that just wouldn't be, I know I would stink at that. So I know I wouldn't take that. But I have worked in a nursing home. I've worked in a kitchen. I have worked in, you know, a grocery store. I've worked all over I've worked in industrial production, running molding presses. in manufacturing, so I've done a little bit of everything. So
Be a
I
great
feel,
barista with your love for coffee.
oh, I know, my coffee room. I haven't
Cathy
done a
got the
session for
coffee
my
room.
coffee room.
Yes, say a little bit about that, because that's just fun.
During my renovation for my house, which all I wanted to do is fix my kitchen. My brother, who had just recovered from triple bypass, he had 3 stents put in his heart. And I would only put an addition on my house if my brother was willing to do it, because he's just such a great, he's an enabler for me. And so he said, yes, he would do it. So we put an addition on our house, and we would take in the cabinets out of our kitchen, which were nice maple cabinets, but there weren't enough to redo in my kitchen. And so we had a little room that we were making, it was just going to be a pantry. And he's like, why don't you take these cabinets from in here and put them in there? And he said that could be the cabinetry in there. And then it evolved into, oh my God, that could be my coffee and wine room. And so then
coffee and wine room. No wonder you're vegan and vegetarian. You're also on a liquid diet.
Yes. And so it became, I have my Tuscan dining room with my coffee and wine room. And it just became it's the most talked about room in my house is my coffee and wine room. Yep. Because I have multiple coffee machines. I have, this machine and the espresso machine and the regular coffee machine and the cold brew. And so it just became for me, it's the most enjoyable room, because it's like in it, that's where my smoothies are made in the morning, because I can shut the door and reduce the noise in my house. So it's like, it's the center of my start of my day. I get my cold brew, I get my smoothie, and then right next to it is my gym. So, my gym has turned out to be my life-saving addition. So next to my coffee and wine room in my gym, it turned out to be my pandemic savior, because when we went into shutdown and all the gyms closed, my boys could work out in my gym, which is a fully equipped, it's got the treadmill, it's got the spin bike, it's got a rower, it's got a weight machine. Of course, it doesn't work for a power lifter like my 2 sons, but it works for me. It works for the amount of lifting so I think that when we think about sustainability, and I think about, my life, I feel like every decision has enabled the next thing that's come my way to actually be better. In March of this year, I started having some health issues. So I had like a random right-sized seizure, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought, how I thought it was that I slept on the wrong side. How sometimes you sleep on the wrong side and it just acts up. And then 2 weeks later, it happened again. And so I didn't think, I'm like, I'll wait till my physical, which is in, April. And so then I went to.
So we do that, don't we?
Yeah. So I have a client that last year was my big, we decluttered, we staged, we sold and moved her. And she moved into Boston on the 20th floor of a place in Boston. And she overlooks the Zakim Bridge, and
wow, cool.
Fantastic place. And she's like just a fantastic client. And so she had me come back in and reorganize her flat that she's got. And so I was going in to reorganize her, and I took the commuter rail in to the Orange Line, and she's right off of.
Very sustainable of you.
Yes. Well, Wendy, I hate to drive. So, so for me, public transportation is my thing. So I took the commuter rail to the Orange Line, but while doing that, I had a seizure on the platform in the Orange Line. And it only lasts like 40 seconds. And so I was just looking around. And then once I come back to myself, I gathered myself, got on the train, went to my client, worked. While I was working, I had another one, worked, came home and had another one. Then we went out for pizza. And while I was carrying the pizza back, I had another one. And my husband was like, what is wrong with you? What was going on there? And then I told him, and he's like, honey,
why are we getting pizza?
Yeah. He's like, what are you doing about this? And I said, well, I'm going to call my doctor and see. And he's like, you got to make that the priority in the morning. And so I called the doctor, and she's like, listen, you can't wait till your physical appointment. You need to go to the ER. You need to. So I called Matt to come home to take me to the ER because I refused to waste an ambulance ride to go to the ER. And so
we'll make sure to put all of this on your tombstone.
Yes. So
my friend, don't do that. So
I spent 5 days at Sturdy Hospital, and they ran numerous tests, and it was kind of one of those things where finally got released, spent 2 more weeks of testing to be diagnosed with MS.
Oh, Cass.
So, but it's kind of one of those things where I feel like everything, having a home gym, having a clean diet, doing all the things that I've done up to now have enabled me to figure out, like, I was already thinking about pivoting away from a more physical business model to doing more speaking and more writing and things like that. So I feel like from a sustainability standpoint, I was already creating the environment that needed to support me as I moved forward. I was already thinking about, oh, you know what? My house is way too big. I need to sell my house. I've already been thinking that, but I was thinking that I was going to move to Florida. But with MS, he is like your worst friend. Okay. So New England is going to be where I'm going to be. So
I'm glad you're going to be close. And I just want to acknowledge, I want to hear what else you have to say, but I just want to acknowledge how grateful I am for your generosity and vulnerability and grace and desire to have everything in your life be in service to the people that are in your circle, that you would share that with us. I'm so grateful. And I know that it will be very meaningful to our listeners.
Well, so, and it took me a while to get okay with being like, oh my God, now people are going to think I'm going to be a flake. And I'm not. I've been the uptight one my whole life. I've been the one that's been in control. I've been the one to keep you, like from getting outside of the box too far, from falling down. And now I look at it and I'm like, I'm the one that drunk walks on a daily basis. And I'm the one that has to hold on to the rail going down the steps. And so I feel like it's really, it's figuring out like how to amp up that empathy card and it took me a while to figure out that no, despite the fact that I have this going on, I can still show up strong and I can still show up on a consistent basis and not, there are days when, believe me, there are days when I have a plan, but my body has another plan and my mind has another plan. But there are days when it's like, today I feel like $1 million. So today I got to get everything out of it that I can get. And so for me, when you sent the message to me that, hey, you need to be on my podcast, I'm like, oh my God, that's like, I'll take that. Cause it's like, that felt like a great thing. And it's like, and I know that it's like, that's something I can do because it didn't require me driving anywhere. Because by having a seizure in the hospital, you know what that did to me? I lost my license for 6 months.
A public record.
Right. So I can't drive until
is 100% in service to you and to the people that are driving around you. Like, as much as I love just the way, again, that you've been preparing for this your whole life, and that your mindset is, oh, well, I can do this. I can do this hard thing. You are a person who sees every opportunity, every event as an opportunity, that you know that things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. And you almost just instinctually go into, well, this makes perfect sense because this, and this. So let's go.
right.
I really applaud that.
I feel like my son coming here for the summer,
Right?
it's like, so he takes, Tyler's working on his license. So Nick takes him to drive and do things. And Nick also reworked all of my workouts, and we have them on the mirrors and he reworks them to what I can do, so I feel like they're all things that allow me to be more sustainable. And people, I think, sometimes think that sustainability is all about the environment. And really, it starts self. It really is self. Start with you, because if you aren't taking care of you, you can't make the world that you live in and the people around you better. And so for me, it's like my gym, no matter where I move the next place, the real estate lady's going to have to know that gym has a place. I don't care where you're going to take me. It's going to be single level, but that gym is going with me. So find me a place where my gym can go, and my Tuscan dining room.
And my coffee and wine room. I don't think you can ever go back. It's like, I can't unsee what I saw in Kenya, and I don't think you can not have a coffee and wine room.
Right. So those are the things that it's like, and they say, oh, well, I don't know. And I said, I'd really like one that's, very sustainable. And so they're like, oh, well, that's going to be hard. Well, work hard then. I work hard every day.
And they don't think that's your realtor.
Right.
I don't think that's the person. Anyone who tells you something is too hard, you're like,
right. It's kind of like, no, you don't get it. It's like every day I have to work hard to figure out what I can do today.
That's right. I have a realtor for you that is a total yes woman of action. My cousin, who I'm going to interview her on the podcast. She's amazing. I don't know what's taken me so long. I typically ask people to start our conversations, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season of life? And instinctively, everything that you have said and everything that you shared here is just a giant yes. And I'm so grateful for just the privilege, now of knowing you and loving you and watching you be so committed to yourself that you have done the work and taken the steps. And, we met 3.5 years ago in Cathy Heller's program, just like the majority of my favorite people in my life right now. And, there are a lot of people in that program and just in our lives and within earshot that, they're pretty committed to the reason that they can't do the thing they want. And it's really, friend, if that is you, it is not in service. And we do not know what is ahead for us. We do not know what the challenges are. And saying yes to yourself, knowing what you are passionate about, and then being intentional to incorporate that into every moment of your life is what prepares you for what is coming next. Saying no to yourself, telling yourself that you'll do that next year when the kids move out, you'll wait till you're physical 3 months from now, whatever you're doing that is putting off what you actually know in your heart that you need to be doing is not in service.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't know. It's like if you had told me, last year I had the best year with my business, my best year. I was doing on track to have a phenomenal, and then March came and my whole life changed again. And so, and it's like, but that's okay, because this is what I'm meant to handle.
That's right.
And I was meant to slow down because my son was coming to town. My son was graduating. There are
About to
things.
be a grandma.
Yeah. And so, it's like I get to enjoy, my life as opposed to, and I'm fortunate that I put in the corporate time. So I don't have to worry about, paying my mortgage and, things like that. It's, I'm very fortunate that up to now, every decision I've made has paid itself forward. And so I'm not sitting here worrying about, oh my God, but you rely on your plan B and your plan C. And I also know that I also have my people around me. I know that I can call the Wendy's of the world, and I can call, Heather and Christina, and, I can call all these people that are in my pool and say, hey, could you help me out? Or do you know, or can you help, do something? And I know that I would do the same thing in a handshake for anybody, but they know that because I wear it on my sleeve. It's like, that's who I am. And it's like, but if if you want that perfect looking person, like I'm not a hair and makeup person. I'm not, but for me, it's like, I'm real. And that's to me, it's what matters is like, I'm real in that you're my person. And, I feel so fortunate for having met you and all of our sisters or people that have been in
And
those
Oswald.
classes.
All of our
Oswald.
sisters and Oswald.
Right. I know. And I see Oswald on Facebook and Instagram all the time. So, and he's always, commenting or liking stuff. So, so I see him, relentless out there. And
He's
so
very consistent. I'm super grateful for him.
yeah. So I just feel like, all of these things were meant to happen, that transitioned me from one place to another place to another place. And I feel like, and who knows what's next,
Right. Right. I mean, I love that. I love that you've been so intentional about curating the community you desire.
Mhm.
You've been intentional about investing in yourself, getting your MBA, saying yes to Cathy's program, and then hearing afterward from that woman, you have everything, you can start a business, you don't, but what you didn't have before Cathy's program was these connections to these people that were meant to be a part of your next steps. And it's when you have the opportunity to be in a container like that, you're going to get something out of the course that you take and out of the person facilitating it. But the other people that also said yes to themselves that are in that room, that's the gold. That's your next collaboration. That's your next mentor. That's your next, just person to do life with. That's the community, and that's what keeps you going. So none of these things are the thing. It's not, if you say yes to this program, this mentor, this mastermind, you're never going to have another thought in your whole life. Like, this is just going to accomplish everything. It isn't. It's just the next step, but it's also everything that you need to do the step after that. And
right.
then everything there gets you to the next one.
Yeah. And because I think, there's a lot of people that get sold on the chasing the 7-digit number, or the 6-digit number. And for me, it's never about chasing the money. It's really about, fulfilling the goal, solving the problem. And it's about, feeling better at the end of it. Does somebody feel better? Do I feel better? And do I feel like I haven't given something away that really shouldn't be given away, like whether it's part of your gut and your sense and your morals. It's like, so for me, stepping away from corporate, that was when you start to breach that moral compass where you feel like you're giving the soul part of you away. It's time to, okay, now it's time to vote for you, because that we're too close to that. And so I feel like now I get to wake up and choose, today I get to do this. And if I don't want to do that, no, I can't do that, I'll pick something else,
Oh,
so, and I can do anything else.
Right?
Wash my own dishes.
Right. I love that. Thank you for saying again, you voted for you, because that was so beautiful. And I wrote that down when you said it, but that's so beautiful. I would love to end on that of, how do we cast a vote for the person we want to be today?
Yeah. And the good thing is that even if you're not close, it only takes a baby step forward. Because I always say it's just baby steps. It's like becoming more sustainable. It's not a monumental thing. Pick one small thing. Right. It could be changing your toothbrushes, changing your toothpaste, changing your paper towels. It can be just a small thing. You don't have to change everything. Just pick one small thing. It may take a year, and that's okay, because it's taken me years to get to where I am. So, I think that vote for you and pick small things to make your changes.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow along on your fabulous journey and get your sustainable Sunday tips and all of those good things.
Yes, I am the sustainableorganizer.com. And on all social media, I am the Sustainable Organizer on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and what have you. It is the Sustainable Organizer all the time. And if you get out there and you have any problems, I'll give you all the data in the show notes, Wendy, so that you can give it to people. Because I would love to put people in my good green hands for them to make their small changes. And if they just read my Sunday posts, that might be enough.
That's awesome. And you work virtually with people as well, so they don't need to be local in Massachusetts.
Right. You are correct.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much, Cathy. You are a gem, and I can't wait to see you again soon.
You are very welcome.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site, or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.